Orochi cannot catch a break this arc, huh? Hello, welcome in. It's Thursday. You guys know what it is. It is One Piece chapter 1009. No breaks this week, no breaks last week. Oda is on a fucking roll. So we start off the chapter by continuing with the Scabbards, who have already made it up to Orochi's room, which is pretty crazy considering how far apart they were last chapter. But yeah, we ended up here. And I love what Fukurokuju does. He's like, hey, Orochi, the Scabbards do not know that you died by Kaido. Like, they didn't know that you're supposed to be dead. So when you're gonna diss them here in a second, don't bring that shit up. That's essentially what he's saying, because he does go on right after that saying, hey, like, you're surprised, right? Kanjuro was playing as Odin and all that shit. But then again, you got me with Kyoshiro. I feel like Fukurokuju played the role of Oda's editor, and Oda was gonna throw in a diss saying, hey, I bet you guys thought I was dead before, huh? And then he was like, oh, no, Oda, the Scabbards actually don't know this. You might want to like hold off on that. Throw a different diss their way. But then right after he says that, the man gets decapitated, all of his heads cut off by the Scabbards. The Scabbards aren't weak. It makes sense that they were able to pull off this feat. But boy, does this undersell Orochi. I feel like Orochi has such a strong devil. He has the 9-headed snake. He has the fucking Hydra. He has this mythical Zoan devil fruit where you can regrow heads infinitely. It makes sense that they're cutting off his heads and they're just gonna grow back, right? It's part of his devil fruit. It's part of his shtick. But you would think that this devil fruit would be super fucking OP, right? But I think it's just Orochi is so weak, he doesn't know how to use his devil. Give this devil fruit to anybody else, and they would do a much better job than Orochi is. When you really think about it, Orochi hasn't once pulled off a significant feat. At the very beginning of Wano, Orochi was, you know, this intimidating factor towards CP0. And I was like, oh shit, maybe they're scared of him. And he even said, hey, you're not gonna do anything because I control Wano and Kaido does as well. You know, he's backing me up. I thought that CP0 was actually a little bit scared of Orochi. That's not the case. They were scared of Kaido, which makes sense. But I thought Kaido and Orochi were gonna be this duality of Wano, like the two head honchos. But no, that ends up being Big Mom and Kaido, which makes a lot more sense. But god damn, Orochi's so weak. He even mentions before he gets his heads chopped off that, hey, like, I would go somewhere else, but you know, there's bad guys everywhere. Are you telling me, Orochi, that you are afraid of beast pirate fodder and random samurai fodder? Like really, like those are your concerns here? Oh man, Orochi is being underplayed, but the Scabbards let him live. Well, not let him live, they just don't have time to waste with him. The castle's on fire, everybody needs help, and their services are much needed elsewhere. So they leave Orochi. I don't know how fast it takes or how long it takes for his heads to grow back, but I can assume that he's gonna be back and kicking any minute now. And that really opens up the question of, if the Scabbards are not going to finish him off, who is going to finish him off? Because at this point, literally, I think anybody on the Straw Hat side could beat off Orochi. In my personal opinion, I really want the matchup to be Usopp versus Orochi. It makes a lot of sense to me. I could just see Usopp shooting out a green star, wrapping Orochi's heads all up in a vine, and then finishing them off all at once. I feel like that's the best way to get rid of him, although you could argue that that's exactly what the Scabbards did this chapter, and Orochi is still deemed alive. So that being said, how do you actually beat Orochi? The only real option, in my opinion, is to cut off the body or cut him in half, because without a body, can the heads really grow back at all? But then again, if they did that, that would be the same as cutting up Orochi and killing him, which I can't see the Straw Hats doing. I can't see the Straw Hats actually killing somebody. So we have to find some way to subdue Orochi, which, going back to the Usopp theory, I can see him wrapping him up in vines, and that would work as well. And before I became a huge candidate of Usopp versus Orochi, I was a huge fan of the Scabbards versus Orochi, because, you know, you have the 9 Scabbards, you have 9 heads of Orochi. It makes sense that they cut them all off, but we got that this chapter, and it seems that they don't really give a fuck about Orochi right now. They're like, hey, like, let's fucking leave him. We don't have time to deal with his ass. So they already got their divine retribution for what they did, or for what Orochi did to Wano and Odin and etc. So yeah, I feel like they don't really have a grudge against him anymore. They're like, hey, we got bigger fish to fry. We can leave this for somebody else. We're gonna leave him to Hell's Judgment. I think one of the funniest parts of this chapter is Fukurokuju's reaction. He's just like, wait, what the, like, how did Orochi go down? Like, how is this even happening? How did he die twice? I can't believe that Fukurokuju is this guy's right-hand man, and he doesn't understand how utterly weak Orochi is. It's gotten to the point where I think Fukurokuju is probably even stronger than Orochi. And speaking of which, he's going to face off against Raizo, which we all knew that he had this huge grudge against Raizo in the past. So it looks like they're finally going to settle that up. If Oda really wants to go all out, I honestly, while it would be a detour, I would really love to see a full fleshed out fight against Raizo and Fukurokuju. Even if it's like half a chapter or more, I think I'd kind of be okay with that. I think Wano is definitely the time for minor characters to shine. And speaking of which, we didn't get any insight towards Jack versus Inuarashi, which is another fight I'm kind of invested in as well. I hope that Oda takes his time and kind of shows us these fights and show us some feats of these characters. But that being said though, this is when Oda pulls off a curveball, in my opinion. I did not expect him to spend a vast majority of this chapter around the Kaido and Big Mom and Luffy supernova fight. I did not expect that. Normally, Oda finishes off the minor fights and he finishes up what's happening around the island before he finishes up the main fight. But that's not the case this time around. Oda said, you know what, fuck it. Fuck tradition. We're gonna show you guys hard nuts to butts action of Luffy, Kaido, and Big Mom. So when we cut back to the rooftop, we start off with Big Mom and Kaido performing essentially what Dorry and Brogy did back in Little Garden, where they both swing their clubs together and then it creates this violent shockwave. Back then, I would assume that Dorry and Brogy didn't have hockey, they didn't have Rio, so they were using actual air pressure to propel and to shoot that fish in half. This chapter, we can pretty much confirm that this is real. Like, this is on a different fucking scale than what Dorry and Brogy did. Can we all agree to that? Because when I look at the comments, I see people wondering if Dorry and Brogy were the first signs of Rio in One Piece. Like, no, that can't be the case. Maybe Oda will retcon that. Maybe when we go to Elbaf, he'll be like, oh yeah, by the way, Dorry and Brogy have complete armament hockey and they can use Rio at will. If they had hockey back in Little Garden, they would not have been fucked with by Mr. 3 as hard as they did. But that's besides the point. I'm gonna go back to the chapter before I get too sidetracked. We have Kaido and Big Mom releasing this giant shockwave, and the one who steps up to the plate is Zoro. Zoro comes in, he tries to block it, he tries to deflect it. I don't know what he's trying to do necessarily, but he goes in and he gets blown away. Like, he could not handle this blast. And that's when Law kind of switches him out of the way and it blows up a part of the fucking skull. We lobotomized Onigashima with that blow. And here's when we get something very uncharacteristic of Kid. Kid looks at Zoro and he's like, hey, thank you. Thank you for trying to do that, man. Like, you stopped it by even a second. If you stopped it by even a second, you saved our fucking lives. With Zoro trying to tank that blast and Zoro cutting Kaido a couple chapters ago, I think we can all come together and say that this arc has been nothing but Zoro hype. I wouldn't be surprised if when we left Wano, Zoro has a bounty past 1 billion. I think we can all safely assume that. Luffy has 1.5 billion right now. Zoro, I guarantee you that man is gonna hop up to 1.2 billion. I would not bat an eye if that's actually what happened. So while everybody's trying to recover from the attack and everybody's trying to pat Zoro on the back, Luffy just goes all out. Luffy tries to throw a Red Hawk towards Kaido. Kaido dodges it, and then he attacks Luffy, and Luffy's like, whoa, you know what? You actually had to dodge that, huh? Like, you didn't want to get hit by that Red Hawk, which is very surprising considering the fact that Luffy isn't in gear 4th. He's not in gear 3rd. This is just a regular gear 2nd. I would almost argue base form Luffy. Like, we can't really tell because it's a manga, but let's give him gear 2nd. Luffy's in gear 2nd, throwing a Red Hawk, and Kaido doesn't want to get hit by it. So does this mean that a gear 4th Red Hawk might be able to take down Kaido? I think that's a hint towards the final blow, whether it be a gear 4th Red Hawk or a gear 5th Red Hawk. That, in my opinion, I'm putting money down that is going to be the move that takes down Kaido at the very end. That being said though, Luffy misses, and then that's when Kaido slaps Luffy with his little club, and Luffy blocks it in gear 2nd as well with coated arm and hockey hands. Beforehand, if Luffy were to get hit by that club, like let's say in the beginning of Wano, Luffy was KO'd. Luffy was sustaining major damage. This time around, Luffy, he looks at his hand and he's like, whoa, Jesus Christ, that fucking hurts. What a huge power up Luffy got in the span of what seems to be a week. Luffy learning Rio and mastering Haki has come a long way, and we can all see that by now. So since the very beginning of Wano, I was wondering how Luffy would pull out the W against Kaido. Kaido in their initial fight slapped Luffy. You cannot argue that Kaido did not slap Luffy. One hit knocked him unconscious. And here we are, you know, chapters later, and Luffy's taking hits from Kaido left and right. Granted, it still hurts a fuck ton, but Luffy's standing his ground. So that just goes to show that Luffy's training arc in prison was worth it. Luffy has now obtained prison body. Also, speaking of Kaido, his hybrid form got a little bit cooler in my eyes because last chapter you didn't really get to see it because of the way Oda drew the panel, but this chapter you can see that Kaido actually retains his dragon tail from his Seiryu form. So that's how he's able to fly up and then hit Luffy down with a 3-world Ragnarok, which in my opinion looks a lot stronger than the Thunder Bagua that Luffy got hit by and KO'd by in the beginning of Wano. So how he's going to survive this, I have no idea yet. I bet that when we cut back to him, he's going to be covered up in Haki, maybe Rio, I have no clue. But that being said, he has to survive this. He cannot be KO'd. Luffy has already been thrown the 10-minute time penalty from Gear 4th, so I highly doubt Oda's gonna be like, oh yeah, here's another 10 minutes for Luffy. He needs more time to get back up. And plus, if Luffy is KO'd, and then the whole plan and the idea of splitting up the Yonko goes into the fucking fire. But with that being said though, the two Yonko are split up for now, and that's when we cut to the Big Mom portion. And Big Mom is fighting off against Law, Kid, Zoro, and Killer. And I gotta say, I love the shift in dynamics. With Luffy versus Kaido, it's more of a straight brawl out. They're just throwing attacks left and right. But with the Big Mom portion, it shows a more strategic approach. So we started this fight by Law telling them, hey, like I can't shambles anything that's stronger than me. Anything that has more Haki than me, I cannot teleport. So that's when Kid builds this metal box. And then they teleport Zeus into that box. So boom, Zeus is gone. Big Mom can't use him. And when they do this, I'm kind of curious. I was wondering why they didn't just do this for Prometheus and, you know, Napoleon as well. But maybe Napoleon could have cut the box in half. Maybe Prometheus would have burned the box down to a crisp. I have no fucking clue. But yeah, Zeus is locked up. And then that's when Zoro and Killer kind of take care of Prometheus and Napoleon. Zoro cuts Prometheus up into 1,000 fucking tiny pieces with his fire style now. God, Zoro took Kinemon's fighting style, he took his fire slashing abilities, and he took it to the next level. I kind of feel bad for Kinemon. Imagine you practice the way of the sword. You're like, I'm gonna learn how to cut fire. And you practice that for so many fucking years. And then here comes this prodigy. You see Zoro over the horizon saying, hey, that's mine now. And Zoro fucking runs with it. Zoro cuts Prometheus in half into 1,000 pieces, like I said. And then Napoleon's kind of up in the air like, hey, Big Mom, I'm coming to help you. And then that's when Killer kind of chases him off. I thought that was kind of silly looking. Killer essentially just chases Napoleon like it's the Scooby-Doo villain. And now that Big Mom doesn't have Prometheus, Zeus, or Napoleon, that's when Kid steps in and he's like, I got you now, Big Mom. And he starts shooting these little like metal darts at her. And it does nothing to her. And I feel like this is all part of the plan. So she gets close to him, beats him down, and Kid repels her into the air, and Law attacks a giant rock to her. And Big Mom's like, yo, this is doing no damage. Like, what the fuck is the point? And then that's when she looks down. And below her is no clouds, no Prometheus, no Zeus, no homies, just the ocean. And that's when we end the chapter. That was their plan all along. They said, yo, in a straight fight, even if there's 4 of us, taking down Big Mom or any Emperor at that point is just ridiculous. That is a feat among itself. So the best way to deal with the Devil Fruit user is to drop them in the ocean. And I guarantee you this is not gonna work. There's a couple of reasons why this won't work. The first reason is that Big Mom has created a homie out of the ocean before. If Big Mom, I don't know how long it takes to create a homie. We've never really seen it in real time, but by the time she hits the ground, I wonder if she could just put her hand on the ocean and then boom, the ocean is now a homie and she could just lift herself back up. That is option number 1. Option number 2 is that Big Mom will pass by a cloud. So Onigashima is floating in the sky. So with it floating in the sky and there's clouds around, can Big Mom theoretically just touch a cloud and turn that into a homie? Maybe another cloud like Zeus 0.2 or something, or Zeus 2.0, Zeus 0.2. But yeah, that's what I'm assuming is going to happen. But another possibility is that since Kaido knocked down Luffy like I said, we don't know if Luffy's still up or not. We don't know if he's conscious, but if Kaido is free, Kaido could jump off and pick up Big Mom, whether it be in the air or maybe Big Mom does land in the ocean and she is KO'd for a second. I can still imagine Kaido jumping into the ocean and saving her and bringing her all the way back up. And I know what you're saying. Wait, Kaido has a Delta Fruit as well. How is that going to happen? Kaido has the fish fruit, model Seryu. The fish fruit, it makes me want to assume that Kaido is going to pull off some crazy shit. Kaido is also going to get knocked off. Kaido is going to jump in the water and then he's going to save Big Mom. And then everybody's going to be like, yo, like we did it, guys. Like we beat the emperors. And then no, Kaido comes up. They're like, oh shit, I forgot. He has the fish fruit. Shit. Even though this looks like the end of Big Mom for this fight, I guarantee you it isn't. I guarantee you Big Mom is going to come back and she's going to be stronger than ever. But with that being said though, huge shout out to Kid. I didn't expect him to be such a team player during this chapter. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I even mentioned it before. Kid gave compliments to Zoro for blocking that attack, or at least trying to. And then Kid knowingly takes a hit from Big Mom just to push her up in the air and get her knocked off the ledge. I didn't see Kid as a team player all throughout One Piece. He's kind of been this bad boy, this kind of loose cannon, you know, he doesn't want to play with others. He's been betrayed too many times. But in this fight, he's been very cooperative. He's been very helpful and very nice. So shout outs to him. So that's where I'm ending this video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Please drop a like down below. Please sub if you haven't. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. No break, so I'll be back again.